Tonight we do have Steve Jarding, who is going to take his place. Steve is an expert on Southern and rural politics in America today, and that is a specialty in Virginia, and so I can assure you that he is the right kind of guy to be speaking to us tonight, because that happens to be what we generally are from, is the rural part of the state of Virginia. Steve worked in the Tom Daschle campaign when they told Tom Daschle that he couldn't possibly win. He worked in 2 of the Bob Kerrey from Nebraska campaigns when the Republicans were polling far ahead of the Democrats, but somehow or another, as we all know, they won. And he also signed on with Mark Warner when they were saying that Mark Warner couldn't possibly win, and he won. So he obviously knows how to win. He's obviously our kind of guy. He has established himself as a hands-on tactician who knows how to win. That's the kind of guy we want. And he happens to teach at Harvard University when he has some time to do that sort of stuff. So anyway, let's bring Steve on with a real round of applause.
Well, thank you all. It's good to be here. I can tell you, I talked to Jim a little bit ago, I guess a couple hours ago now, when he landed in New Orleans. He genuinely really wanted to be here. He is a terrific individual. He wanted to meet everybody. As you know, he just got in this thing a few weeks ago, but he very much wishes he could be here, and he'll get back here and hopefully have a chance to meet everyone. You'll have a chance to meet him and see what a quality candidate he is. I want to begin, Fred, thank you for what you have done here. This is a tremendous crowd. Found out before when we were talking before, I just had met Fred, but found out that we have a lot in common. He used to work for B. Rappaport, one of the patron saints, I guess, in Texas Democratic politics. For 30 years, he said. He's not that old, so I don't believe it was 30. But B's a terrific guy, and B did a lot for people that were close to my heart. Tom Daschle, Bob Kerrey, B was one of their great supporters, and if you work for B. Rappaport, that's all I need to know. You're a great human being. So thank you for putting this on, and thank you, the 5th District. When I ran Mark Warner's campaign, I tended to be holed up in an office for 80 hours a week or so, and I didn't get out much. And so a very, very heartfelt and belated thank you, 5th District, for all you did to elect Mark Warner governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I do want to talk tonight about Jim Webb and why he's running, a little bit about who he is, but I want to begin with, to try to set the stage, by introducing you to an America that millions of people are facing around the country, tens of millions of people, and it's an America that I'm going to call George Allen's America. This is George Allen's America in 2006 as he's running around the country. We now have in America 36 million people have fallen below the poverty rate. 6 million approximately more since George Bush and George Allen implemented their programs and forced them on the American public. 6 million more in America, in the greatest country in the world, given more gifts by our Creator than any nation on earth. And we have 36 million Americans, a third of them children. 20% of those children go to bed hungry in America every night in George Allen's America. 20%. That's inexcusable. That's offensive. That is wrong. That is not America. We have 47 million Americans without health insurance, 7 million more since George Bush and George Allen started voting against insurance programs for people that need it. 7 million more. An additional 45 million Americans lack health insurance for at least 6 months out of the year. 45 million more. Shame on them. Shame on George Allen. We are better than that. The way that this administration, George Allen, have coddled to the money interest, to the lobbying interest, number of lobbyists in Washington, D.C., since 2000, under this administration, under George Allen, has gone from 16,000 to 34,000. And let me tell you something, they're not lobbying for you. 31% of the budget now goes into the hands of these people, and they're giving it to the greediest of Americans. Not to the people that need it. They're not investing in people. They're not investing in our children, in our seniors, in education, in health care. They're giving it to their richest friends. $1.7 billion tax cut, the largest redistribution of wealth in the history of this nation, and indeed in the history of the world, has occurred in the last 5 years. The top 1% in America got 42% of that 1.7 trillion. 42%. Shame on them. The top 5% got 55% of that tax cut. Shame on them. This is America. We are better than that. Let me tell you what else they've done. And to some extent, we have to take responsibility as Democrats. The Republican Party in America today claims to be the party of family values. The party of family values, and yes, it's laughable, but they get away with it. The American family today in the United States has never been under a greater assault than it is in this administration, with people like George Allen who support this president 96% of the time. There are millions of Americans sitting at a table tonight just like you are, with one exception. They're struggling tonight. They're struggling tonight. Some of those people don't have the health insurance that we talked about. Some of them have the hungry kids. Some of them have the sick kid. They're holding down 2 jobs. They don't have the insurance. They can't make the house payment. They're worried about the car payment. Those families are not sitting there worried about these single polarizing issues that the Republicans put on the table. They are worried about survival. And they are not surviving under this administration. And that is indefensible. That is not family values. Family values are a democratic issue, and we need to recapture it and take it back from these charlatans, these shams, these individuals that don't deserve it because they have not earned it. George Allen and George Bush tell all Americans that they are fiscal conservatives. Thank you. A week ago, the Republican-controlled Congress and George Allen and George W. Bush and their individuals who parade themselves as conservatives signed a debt ceiling increase for the 5th time, making this administration the largest spending, greediest administration, not only than any other previous administration in American history, but than all administrations combined. That's what they've done. That's what they've done. When people tell you Democrats are the spend party, tell them this. Over the last 45 years, the average deficit under a Democratic president was $31 billion. The average deficit under the Republicans in the last 45 years was $130 billion. That is not responsible spending.